Daniel, how can companies use qualitative research methods to maximize the impact of their marketing?
Yeah, good question, Sani. I think just to touch upon qualitative research, I think this is like the superpower that a lot of companies are not using or underutilizing a lot. We tend to focus a lot on quantitative research, looking at data, A/B testing, that kind of experimentation. But I really think in the essence, if you want to find the real gold, understand how to improve marketing efforts, but also customer journeys, we have to get answers on the whys. So why do we see certain patterns in data? Why are some A/B tests working and others aren't? If you're not doing the qualitative research part, you're kind of making assumptions about the patterns that you see in data. But also more importantly, there are things that you will not find in data. You have to go qualitative. So let me just give a really hands-on example. User interviews, taking people through your website. Data can show you, for example, that, 10,000 people land on a specific landing page and half of them continue to product page and then maybe 90% drops out. And then everybody says, well, What is this? Why do so many people drop out? And you can make a lot of assumptions about the data. But if you do user interviews, you can, for example, find out that actually the landing page where people land on, the copy isn't clear enough. They are not really sure what this product is about. And then when they click on the product detail page, there are maybe some key questions that they have about the product that are currently missing. And because those are not being answered, they leave your website to search for answers for those questions themselves. Maybe they find them at a competitor's website and they continue their journey there. This is something you'll never find in Google Analytics or other quantitative tools. You really have to sit down with people. And I think for marketing, to touch upon the qualitative research part, there's a lot of companies who have sales and marketing in like two different silos, two different islands, I've started at the sales side, did a lot of sales jobs and recruitment before moving into the marketing and experimentation side. So I've seen both sides of the island. And sales usually sees it the way like, hey, we bring in the money, we're doing all the hard work, we're getting out there, making sure customers know about us, sign up, and we bring the money in. Right. And then they look at marketing and they think, you guys just invent crazy campaigns, throwing away the money that we earned. And somehow we need to be happy and hope it all comes back. And they'd like to point fingers at each other, right? But it's not really a blame game. It's like you're all on the same team. I like to compare it as a football team. Mm-hmm. You need attackers, a midfield, defenders, and a goalkeeper. And everybody needs to make sure you suffer less goals or you score at least one goal more than the opponent.
That's a great analogy. But so what you thought, you mentioned when you talked about qualitative, you kept referring to user journey. With quantitative, as advanced as the tools are getting, you're looking at data points that are just connected together in the tool, in the analytics tool. The thing with the landing page and the product page, Google Analytics or whatever will tell you they're dropping off at the product page. Yeah, but that's because the landing page told them go there, and then what they were expecting wasn't there. The problem is not in the product page; it's somewhere else, right?
Yeah. So in interviews, you can find out whether certain expectations are met or not, and what people were expecting instead. So you can fix that. I think another really good qualitative research tool is simply have a mini survey on your website. Not a super long one, not a very intrusive one, but just one that pops in the corner while people spend, for example, 30 seconds on the page asking them, hey, could you find what you were looking for? And people can very low-key fill it in and say, well, not exactly, I have these and these questions. So there's several ways to actually gather that feedback and start to understand, hey, we have this engine, where are we losing money? What do we need to fix? And just to get back to the sales and marketing analogy, I do think that when sales and marketing closely talk with each other, because sales talks to a lot of potential customers on a daily basis,
right?
Marketing is focusing on the marketing efforts. The more closely they work together, and also when marketing does qualitative research in collaboration with sales, you start to see the whole picture. You start to understand, why is this very group of potential customers not becoming a customer while this very small group is? Like, what are the similarities between these two groups? And more importantly, what are the differences? What do we need to fix in that regard?
I could not agree with any of that more. And most of the guests of this podcast, so side story, I have a tool for podcasters that analyzes every episode you have, like an AI assistant that knows everything about your podcast. I this morning I asked it, what is the most common recommendation from my guest? And what it said was user research, understand your users. So most of the guests on this podcast actually say the same thing. And not shocking because I pick my guests well, like they're smart people. But why do companies, you said, not do this enough? Like, what do you think is the problem?
Yeah, I think a part of the problem is that people have a lot of on their plate, right? Like the to-do list is very packed. Usually there are more items on the to-do list than people can do in a week. And that never changes. Like the bigger a company becomes, okay, the more hierarchy there is and the more processes, but usually the to-do list is always packed enough so people are not doing nothing. And the problem that kind of creates is people are just very busy with their day-to-day work. And companies tend to look at, for example, qualitative research as a tedious process. Oh, it's hard to find participants. Oh, it's going to cost a lot of time to set up these interviews. Oh, you know, they have a lot of objections for doing it. The reality is, since COVID, a lot of these objections are in the trash bin. Recruiting participants, you can perfectly do it online. If you like, actually at Vodafone Ziggo, at Vodafone Business, I recruit participants for the qualitative research by having a mini opinion survey pop up. The people who fill in the feedback get one extra question at the end, saying if they're open to be approached for qualitative research in the future. If they say yes, we ask for the email address. That's it. That already helps us to build up a database of 30 to 40 participants every month that say, hey, I'm willing to help out in the future. And every quarter with the team, we look at like, okay, what's the next qualitative research going to be? We email the base, not with a spam mail, like a very specific email. What's the research going to be? How long is it going to take place? How will it take place? Because we are dealing with entrepreneurs, we tend to do it online because that saves them time from traveling to our office. And also for them, it's the preferred way. And now, with AI tools, you know, generating the transcripts from the video, summarizing that, it also makes our work more efficient. So I think companies are still kind of looking at it the old way instead of saying, hey, but we're in this new reality. Like, what tools do we have available and how can we set up a really clean and efficient process? And at Vodafone Ziggo, that was a little bit of trial and error. We piloted that a year ago. We learned from that. A quarter later, we tweaked the process a little bit here and there. And it's a continuous cycle, right? And now we're actually reaching the point where other teams within the organization are asking us, hey, can you help us implement this way of working as well?
And that's the best validation of what you're doing.
Yeah.
What you said there, I really liked. You come up with things to research ahead of time. What's the next thing we're going to research? So this is not a reactive kind of tool. Something's wrong and let's fix it. This is an actual optimization booster that you can use to make things better.
And sometimes, you know, we do have signals from, for example, sales or data or any other angle that makes us aware that there's a problem. But then again, right, we have the why question. Why does this happen? And there's a lot of people that then tend to answer that with assumptions. The only way to find out is really ask, you know, the customers or potential customers to find out.
And that's the best possible advice, because we have to end this on the only way to find out is to ask. Like the only way, I mean, if more people did that, the world will be a better place. Daniel, thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you, Sani.